Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session and to the second episode of Manthan. And I'm Linsu Koshi, your host. And today we have a new host as well. So I'll introduce her. Before doing that, let me welcome all of you to the session. And let me tell you, I'm traveling right now. So that's the reason you can see the background that's completely different, right, from the previous time. So it's I thought this is a new background. So let me try a new background. So I'm doing it through my car. So okay, welcome to the session. I'll not waste any time. We have two special speakers with us. One, Mr. Baba sir, most of you know him, and we have Shivani as well. And I'll give a brief introduction about them, first of all, before we start. So Baba sir has got more than 40 years of experience, and he has been in the aviation industry. He has been throughout different segments of the aviation industry. And we requested him to come on the board, and he was very much willing. So thank you so much for being here, Baba sir. And we have Shivani, who has headed HR department for Kotak, and she has been she has got 20 years of experience in HR and L&D space. We welcome her to the board as well. And we have Inderpreet. Inderpreet, she is also part of the L&D team, and she has done a tremendous job in L&D, and she is currently going to host today's session. Right. So welcome, Inderpreet, and you're going to take the session forward. And we have few announcements as well going forward. But before we do any kind of announcements, I would request, let's go right away to the session. And today's, the session is basically on communication disruption. So we have seen different types of disruption in communication, be it psychological, physical, or physiological, or various different, disruptors are there in today's world. So I don't want to comment on that right now. We have experts speaking on that, so would like to hear from them. And over to you, Inderpreet. The mic is to it's yours, and now you can take the session forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linsu, for lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Inderpreet. I'm the moderator for today's session. Warm welcome to our speakers, Gurmukh sir, Shivani ma'am. It's an honor to have you here, and thank you all of you for joining in this session. So as we all know, for today's topic of the discussion is communication disruption. So hoping that the session would be fruitful to everyone. So moving forward, let's have a quick understanding what exactly is the meaning of communication disruption. So I would like to ask Gurmukh sir that please let us know what exactly is the term communication disruption for all.
Okay, communication disruption start with the moment I move out of the time zone. Now I do not know whether I should call good evening, good afternoon, good morning. So my first disruption is that only. And the second disruption is the technology, right? And the third disruption is the fear. And then how to say, what to say, how much to say, the time. And then, of course, different perception individuals have got. I personally feel disruption, you can put it in various categories, right? And it could be physical, it could be cultural, it could be linguistic, or it could be emotional, it could be perceptional, you have got a perception, it could be attitudinal, you have got an attitude about something. And it could be technology, I already mentioned. And then it could be structural also, organizational structure, whether it is in-house, out, external, or it's national or international. So one disruption which is very popular, everybody has faced, that is COVID-19. And the COVID-19 has taught us, given us a demonstration what disruption is. Whatever the categories I have mentioned, it impacted them all. And then verbal, we are talking, there are disruptions which we do not know the audience, or we know the audience very well. It could be verbal. And then whether it is a monologue or is dialogue and question and answer, and whether you are answering them fully or not, that's another thing. And your clarity, your knowledge on the subject. It is said that if you answer the question in 2 attempts, it's very good. But if you don't answer in 3rd attempt, the questioner will not ask you the 3rd time, and he will make a perception about you. that either you do not know or you do not want the answer. That's another thing. And then research has also showed that how much to say is more important what to say. I am not saying the content is not very important. Content is equally important, but the same content, how you say and what you say, it makes. And then, of course, I mentioned the technology. We know that chatbots are taking over. And somebody took the web domination. Now somebody wants to take the artificial intelligence domination. There is a fight between Board and Lambda. Let us see who takes over. So that's what I personally feel. And then I mentioned the fear. I must tell you, the fear is all along. I am out of service. The people who are service, the survey have indicated that last year, the survey has demonstrated that really 51% had a fear factor of losing the job, changing the job. That fear factor has increased over the next year by 2022, 72%. And I am a statistician by profession. And if we start extrapolating that, it crossed 140%. And if not 140%, at least 99% of the people are under fear. And the fear is now demonstrated equally. The content developers, maybe they are thinking that they will not be needed. So that's why we will see the perceptions are very clear. And another survey shows that 94% of the executives are thinking of changing their business model over the next couple of years or 3-4 years. So this is what my take on the question you raised. I hope I have done justice.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Shivani, do you want to add something to it?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to express my views on this topic of communication disruption. So it's indeed one of the most important topic as of now, because it has dramatically changed the landscape of the organizations these days. So what does disruption actually means? Let's understand that first. Actually, rightly said by Sir, so it's something when disrupts or stops the event, process, or system because of any event, or in the normal or the usual manner. That's called disruption. Now, for example, take the transportation industry, your dining experiences, your travel, your entertainment industry. So Netflix, Uber, your e-com websites, they have completely transformed the entire space. So now it is absolutely the new normal has been established. So in today's world, what we need to understand is that there is not even a single industry which has remained untouched by this never-ending updates of technology, especially in respect to the business standard tasks. So this rapid, regular technological advancements have altered the way in which professionals communicate. So that is what is communication disruption all about. So last 2 decades, if I actually talk about communication disruption per se, so if you observe the last 2 decades have actually seen dramatically this business communication trends that have evolved. So let me take your memory to the year 2007, month June, date 29, the launch of iPhone. It revolutionized the way the people talk. It has revolutionized the way people surf the net, send text messages. And an interesting fact here, let me share with you all. And in that year, when the launch of iPhone happened, surprisingly, the teeny tiny chewing gum, its sales dipped by 15%. Now you go explore why did this happen, but I just thought to share this interesting thing with you. But this clearly goes to prove the impact of disruption in one industry, how it impacts the other. So now the question arises, why disruption actually happens? So remember one thing, that communication disruption is actually the heart of industry disruption. So for example, if actually a company wants to stay competitive, stay in demand, what it'll have to do? It will have to find out the various demands, expectations that the consumers have. So what do the consumers want? How would they reach it out? Now, there were old times of doing surveys. The complete landscape of that has changed. So now there are handheld devices, smartphones, smart watches, sensors, chips, and the complete unified cloud infrastructure that we have. So it has completely changed the way we are interacting with the consumers, and this is communication disruption. Now, another reason which has really advanced this process of communication disruption is the highest level of encouragement these days of startups, whether it is government, whether it is your media, your industry, or professional colleges, they all encourage a lot of startups. Now
Okay,
that
so
happens.
what are the, yeah, what are
Yeah.
according to you, what are the factors that disrupt
Yeah.
communication?
That is what I'm coming into. So this is the reasons.
Mm.
The first and the foremost is basically you look at the kind of the companies that really need to stay in demand. They really need to figure it out that how they can stay more competitive, and for that they need to reach out to the customers. For that they need to find out what they actually want, and the new age technologies or modern trends of business communication, which is actually a result of the communication disruptions, your other cloud software, the cloud kind of the infrastructure that we talk about. These all things have really changed the landscape of communication. So this is communication disruption. Another factor I was sharing with you about the startups. So these days, when we talk about the startups, Shark Tank, the serial that we all see these days, is a great example how disruptions is being so widely encouraged. And we all are looking for some novel, some unique idea which can completely change the experience with respect to product or process for the consumer. And if that happens, the whole industry will have to follow the suit. And that is all disruption. And these are major factors that happens in the corporate space these days, and that becomes a new normal for all of us. So the latest trends on the modern intranet software, or you have robotic automation, or you have the different kind of collaboration digital workspaces, all these are new age disruptions in communications. And in case the business really wants to thrive in this world, they will have to adapt to this new age styles in order to stay on board. So I actually feel so disruption is completely enveloped the whole corporate world, and they really need to be in line with it to be able to cope in the changing world.
Thank you so much for your input, Shivani. Okay, so let's have an understanding on industry specific. Gurmukh sir, what are the disruptors in communication with respect to aviation industry, as you're from the aviation industry?
Right, I was expecting this question will certainly come, because once you are sitting among the audience, aviation is one subject which is common to everybody, and everybody is a traveler first, right? In aviation, first of all, I must tell you, the passenger is the pivot around which everything resolves, right? Airports are working to serve the passengers, airlines are working to serve the passenger, and everybody is there to serve the passenger, and passenger is the pivot. And we believe that well-informed passenger is a happy passenger, and that passenger becomes our brand ambassador. And that's why communication is the paramount important factor in all kind of disruption in airports, because a passenger must be well informed about his journey from origin to destination and en route. And what causes disruptions? Shivani rightly said, anything which disturbs this system, which brings the system to halt, or it disrupts your process of achievement. So it could be because of shortage of staff at airport level, airline level, and agency level. It could be delay, disruption of schedule, or it could be some surge in demand. And now we have seen after COVID-19, what happened? There was surge in demand, and revenge tourism took the everything under them. And then there is a concept of overbooking also. At times we tell that all passengers are not aware or not well aware that even the 100% confirmed booking can also be refused boarding. So then there are operational issues, and then there are acts of gods and acts of terrorism, and then there could be strikes, etc. also. So all these factors together could become categorized as a frustration factor, which cause a disruption, and the cost factor, which impacts the people, and the load factor, which impacts, which makes another, because it's not that your flight has been cancelled and then you will get the next flight very easily. Then there is a delay factor. People think that my flight has delayed. I don't know whether my next connection I will get it not. But I must tell you, aviation is known as 100% resilient sector. We don't take chances. We don't take risk in aviation. We have to be first category of labs, second category, third category. If our power goes off, we have a generator. If our generator goes off, we have got a battery. If a battery goes out, we have got the conductor level charge of the equipment. So nothing goes out. And resilient aviation has dealt with many kind of disruptions successfully. Be it NLA, new large aircraft, Airbus, CAT, when they came, people were very fearful how the industry will happen. We handled them. And then Y2K, you will remember, the year used to be only two digit. When it crossed the 4 digit, then it was a problem. We managed that successfully. Then comes with the E era, e-tickets, e-passports, or e-visa. We handled them. And the worst was the COVID-19. We handled that successfully. So aviation is the most resilient sector. And the upcoming disruption could be in the form of artificial intelligence, robotics, and virtual reality, what we call facial recognition, which we just implemented in the form of a DigiYatra. And another disruption could be, I mentioned at organization level, reorganization level, privatization of airports. That was one disruptor. Everything came to a hot standstill, and I passed through that era. That was my era's disruption. We know that how successfully we managed that. So these are some disruptions. We handled them very successfully. And then the modern solutions are in the form of apps. Now you will for everything there are the apps. So we are implementing that. DigiYatra app or Air Suvidha app or Arogya Setu app, for everything we are.
Give a brief on how disruptors managed by aviation industry. Can you brief?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I cannot dwell on every disruption because every disruption has got a different solution, right? Since we are talking of the communication, as I mentioned, communication really about more than half of disruption can be attributed to the communication. Any disruption happens, more than half is attributed to the communication. And as I mentioned, privatization was one disruptor which really halted the industry. And at that time, we were thinking, now the challenge is there are private airports, they are bringing a lot of money, and the government is short of money, how we will survive? And then we realized that communication is very important. And in communication, the cost is very important. I remember if we have to publish one article, it used to cost in lakhs. And if you publish an international magazine, it multiplies in the times of 5 or 10 times. So we deliberated that there are some factors in communication which are cost sensitive, they are procedural sensitive. So first was to set the house in order. Setting the house in order, we wanted to draw our procedure afresh. So I recall in those days, we draw the PR policy, public relation policy. Because if you do not have a policy, you can't communicate effectively. Or you will have a lot of delays and procedural issues. So now that same policy is called corporate communication policy, because the PR department and airport authority is now renamed as corporate communication, that the policy benchmark is the same. And I must mention in airport is in a state itself. It has got its own might. It has got its own space. And that is the reason we feel the airport has got its own lingo also. We don't call it passenger, we call him a PAX. We have got city side, we have got air side, we have got terminal building. So we have got our own lingo. And that is the reason our own bylaws, our own rules are very important. Now, as I was mentioning, was the communication. I recall, and we are proud of that. We use our prime space, because at airport you will think that lounge time of passenger is very important. So we introduced the concept of communicator, what we call, I can call the mouthpiece. Mouthpiece of passengers were revamped in the form of airport lounge magazine, and it became very popular. And top of it, that magazine, if I recall, was called Airports India magazine. Airports India magazine, and that used to be in all the lounges, and where passenger spends at least 45 to 50 minutes, and he was very pleasant that his voice is being heard over there, and he is communicating with us, and we were in touch with him. So that kind of one. And then, as I mentioned, passenger is on the social part, but then on the technical part, we need to communicate with the world. And when we want to communicate with the world, we cannot use the same tools. So that Airports India magazine was restricted to national level, though it was going abroad also through our embassy, etc. But then that was addressing the traveler's might. Then we thought that we should come another, and then Airports India Business Magazine, where only the technical matters, the technology, what we want, what the industry is bringing, so that, you see, we always believe you should nip the evil while in bud. Before disruption comes, you must be aware of that. You see, in aviation, there are some disruption which happens all of a sudden. Some we know it will happen, but some we see it's brewing. So that we used to communicate with the industry on regular basis. So airports, what I mentioned, Airports India Business Magazine, that was our another tool which we employed at that point of time. Then that was, as I mentioned, privatization was a big challenge. And we coined the AI song, like national anthem. That song used to be played at all the airports and every functions of ours. So that created we got two multi layers of communication. First, we have to brought our employees win-win-win. So we created that song. And then I remember even when we completed 100 years, to tell the world that we are as mature as the world is over the aviation is concerned, we celebrated 100 years of civilization a year long. We could have one function, two functions, but we said this whole year will be treated as 100 years civilization, and we brought a booklet, and that booklet became a very prized and popular position that has gone out of availability nowadays. So people are asking
Thank
about that
you so
100
much.
years.
Thank you so much, Baba sir. So it's
Right. Good. So that's why.
few minutes left.
Yeah, I
actually.
agree. 3 minutes, 30 years, we cannot go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so Shivani, as you are from the people management, in terms of people management, what are the disruptors in communication which pose a challenge to the HR department?
Okay, so any disruption in the organization impacts your biggest USP of an organization called people. So every disruption, employees will get impacted. But I will like to focus largely here within the HR department, what kind of changes that came in and what kind of disruptions happened and what kind of challenges were there. So human resource department traditionally is well known that we are mired between piles of paper, stretched payrolls, the what we call filing cabinets, and the bulky attendance registers. Thank God the times have changed. We know where now we do not work like this, and everything now has been changed. Sophisticated ERPs have come like PeopleSoft, Oracle, SAP, and biometrics. Thanks to that. So that is one major disruption or the major advancement that happened in the people management world, if you ask me per se. And we are very well aware of how the communication changed. So like video conferences, chats, WhatsApp. I remember the times when WhatsApp was considered to be an informal method of communication, but nowadays, if you look at it, it's very much a formal system. Groups are formed and people do a lot of business exchange of information, very, very formally done here. So that's a great change. Video conferences and unified workspaces have really come great way to show the kind of disruptions in the human resource department. The artificial intelligence currently is actually doing a job of the people. Let me tell you, a lot of skill matching is being done through artificial intelligence. Recruitment is being facilitated through artificial intelligence. Coaching and performance is happening. Legal work is happening through artificial intelligence. Machine-based learning, where the capsules are made to actually nudge the behavior of your employees to ensure that they follow a particular kind of mannerism. Robots, that's a new thing that has now come up. They take interviews, they do selection processes, they facilitate the learning capsules. And let me also tell you, in many places, they even control the harassment done at the employee's workspace. Amazing, isn't it, right? How disruption has completely changed this landscape. In fact, in a lot of companies, cobots called collaborative robots are used to actually work alongside the humans in the workspaces. So this all is great. So this was the first part, what disruptions. Let me take your second part here, that what challenges that it poses. All is great, but inevitably it has some other impact also. What is that? The first and the foremost is that these days, when we are talking about such high level of disruption, the organization and talent leaders are looking for such a talent who are able to cope with certain kind of this kind of technological disruptions. If that is not there, everything else will come to a halt. So we need to have a talent pool that can really facilitate this disruption. That's the first challenge it poses. Another challenge is many companies are or will not be able to actually accommodate or cope with this disruption of communication. Then it's a matter of survival. That's another challenge that comes up. Another bigger worry here in the landscape of HR is that the HR professional themselves are not very well equipped with the kind of disruption that they need to facilitate. So we need such HR professionals who have traditional HR skills, plus they are digitally skilled, equipped, so that they can work in the hybrid environment. So these are primarily the things that I'm talking about.
So that's how you manage it, right? This is
that are the factors which have come for. In terms of managing it, if you're asking me, that's a different ball game altogether. In terms of managing it, what you definitely need to have such a top management which is very foresighted, who's ready to embrace the change and create such policies that actually can accommodate the kind of changes with respect to people and processes that walk in with these disruptions. So that is the first way HR would need support to get these things, disruptions, managed. Another thing, as I said about survival, so what is great news for the learning community here, that in order to deal with this, what do we need to do? We need to get our people upskilled, reskilled, and continuously we have to do that. So programs like VUCA, posture analysis, sustainability, innovation, creative design thinking, simulations related to problem solving and change management, these are the kind of capsules that we need to create to actually have a new corporate learning landscape ready for them. So great work, a lot of work for us that we have. So we need to do this, and we need to understand that the way forward in the times is the learning way. If we are able to get people to learn, skill, upskill, then definitely they can face the challenges, they can be future ready, they can handle all kind of disruptions. So learning community have a lot of work. It's just the question that we need to ask, are we ready to do all of that? So that's something that we need to look forward to, and I'm sure all of us are gearing up to be more, taking up more challenging tasks. So that's our thing, that we can cope with disruptions.
Okay, thank you so much, Shivani, and thank you so much, sir, for providing us so much of clarity. And it was great that we have received your inputs on this topic. Okay, so Lindsay, do you want to add something to the conversation?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, great thanks to Baba sir and Shivani ji, because the way you have covered almost everything. I understand the kind of time limit that you have, and I also have a few more questions to ask. But yes, keeping the time limit in mind, I'll straight away goes to some extraordinary announcement that we have to make. There's something which is exceptionally huge that is going to happen, right? So for the first time in the history of ISTD, we are tying up with Institute of Coaching and Coaching Federation. So we have, with ICF, we are going and tying up with them, and there's an event that is being launched, right? So it's an international event being organized with, and the CEO of ICF, Magdalena Monk, and VP of ICF, Stephen Avies, and Dr. Hasan Moon, and Jeffrey Hull, and that is being arranged by Dr. Anubha Walia. So a huge round of applause, and thank you so much, Anubha ma'am, for getting it. So being the Delhi chapter being the first one to get associated with ICF. So thank you so much, and huge round of applause for you. Thank you so much. So yeah, thank you.
I just want to add one thing before it goes off the air. I am an economist by profession, and there is something called Medici effect. And I want to compliment the ISTD Delhi chapter for bringing that Medici effect into their performance through these episodes of MANTHAN. You see, that says that when you bring various thinkers together, and over a period of time, you will develop something innovative, you will be able to come out of disruptions. And I am sure the series will bring a lot. And please capture the deliberations and bring out a document for this, out of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you. And one more announcement is also there. apart from the the event that we have, there's a picnic that was planned, and that is on 25th of February. And I would like to officially announce that we are going to begin taking the funding for that, and that payment has to be made to ISTD. So we'll share the account details and everything with you. Don't make the payment to the spot, to this to the picnic spot right away. We'll collect it. So ensure कि आप just mode of payment we are asking you, make the payment there, so that we can get a very good deal as well, right? So many things are lined up. A lot of things are going to happen, right? And I'm very excited, and ensure I would like to invite all of you there. I want to meet each one of you, and it's a wonderful session. Thank you, Inderpreet, for conducting it. Thanks, Babaji, for being there. Thanks, Shivani, for being there. And Anubha, anything you would like to add?
No, I think thank you so very much. It was really insightful. I can only say one thing, that I think since the beginning of the time, when we are talking about, let's say, I still remember, I would like to tell you about 1870 was the time when the major disruption happened, and it was telephone which had come. And at that time people were thinking what is going to happen in the communication space, but it made it so easier for each one of us. And rightly said, from there onwards, 1970 we got email, and then after that social media 2005 onwards, and rightly said by Baba sir and Shivani, giving the insight about a lot of things which has already taken place. I can say about my experience that we use chat GPT in our coaching session. And trust me, it is a massive disruption. So I think very great insight from each one of you. And thank you so much, audience, for joining us, and making it a great success. Thank you.
Compliments to the team once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coordinating it so well. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. All the best and have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.
You too.
Thanks, Inder.
Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Shivani. Thanks, Baba sir.
Thanks.
Namaste.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank